What is up, though, Lions fans? It's your boy Chef, and you already know what time it is. We are back for another episode of the YAK Pod. This is episode number 41, and we are moving right along. We got a few things to get to today, but before we do that, let's go ahead and get you to subscribe. Go ahead and hit that little button down there, turn on the notifications, smash that like button, and share it with your people, because it helps to get the algorithm on my side. And if you are enjoying this content, you want the algorithm on my side. Let's go ahead and get to it. Now, today we received an update on the Cam Sutton situation. Cam Sutton is alive, so we know. He was in the Lions facility with his strength and conditioning people the day that the warrant came down. Now, they were able to have conversations with him. They told him that he needed to go ahead and seek counsel, get representation, and turn himself in. He left, cut off conversation with the team, or cut off communication with the team, and they released him the next day. So whatever he's doing now, evading the situation, this is not what he was advised to do. Again, people that are speculating that, the Lions had to know about this, blah, 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 blah. They're still saying that they didn't have any idea about it. They learned about it online, just like everyone else did the day that happened. So also at the league meetings, Coach Mike Tomlin, of the Pittsburgh Steelers, who used to be Cam Sutton's head coach, he reached out to Cam Sutton, and they were like, did you speak to Cam Sutton? He said, it's none of your business. So that's not really an update. That probably means that he did speak to him. So he is alive, but can we say he's alive and well? I don't really think so, because now we're sitting up here looking at a domestic dispute. It's horrible and all of these things, but it is something that he could seek counseling for. It's something that he could, maybe he does prison time, maybe he doesn't do prison time, maybe there's a plea deal where he has out of prison counseling and is required to go there. They have pre-trial diversion programs. They have all types of things that he can do to kind of not clear his name, because obviously now, if you're looking at the situation where the Lions have told you, your former employer, now he's not going to be with the team, he's already been cut, but the chances of him ever getting back into their good graces or anything of that nature is probably slim to none. But so now your former employer has advised you to go ahead and seek counsel and turn yourself in, and you decided not to do that. Well, all the help that you could have looked for, if you were looking for character witnesses, if you were looking in any of these things, now that's something that you've cut off from yourself by running. And that just makes it look like you're guilty. There is still an opportunity out there. And I know it's a stretch, but there's still an opportunity out there for there to be something going on with this situation that maybe at face value it's not the same as what it was reported, or whatever the case may be. And I don't want to diminish anyone. I don't want to diminish the victim. We hope that she is fine and she's recovering. But there's obviously something going on. There's got to be some mental situation happening, because this isn't a normal type of situation. As I said, there's all types of avenues that he could go down, especially because he's a person that has money, right? He's a person that has money. He's not going to get the bulk of the money, but he got a nice little chunk of change last season. So he's a person that has money. He's a person that has lawyers, and we all know, unfortunately, in America's justice system, the people that have the money are the people that are afforded the best options. You understand what I'm saying? But he's got all that at his disposal, and he chooses to go on the run from law enforcement. Now, the longer that this goes, the more serious it becomes as far as his inability to remain in society. Like if you're on the run for a long time and then they have to get the federal, the FBI and things like this involved, when you get caught, you're going to prison. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, and buts. You're going to prison, and he's going to be there for a while. So he's basically now in jeopardy of throwing away his entire career. And my point is, this is not a person of sound mind. I'm not going to say that this isn't a big deal. It is a big deal. It's a big deal, but it's also a big deal that you can come back from, that you can work for, that you can, get to work. If you look at the Von Miller situation, he turned himself in and he was back on the Bills just last season. So he had that situation. He turned himself in. He was back on the Bills. He was playing. I don't know what the specifics of his case were. I don't know what happened. Was there a settlement? I don't know what the resolution of it was. I just know that he came back and he played, and there really wasn't much mention of it after that. So that it was taken care of behind the scenes, presumably. But Cam Sutton's now losing the ability to take care of anything based off of the decisions that he's making. So, there's reports that came out about him being, having blackouts while he was at the University of Tennessee during games. There's also been speculation that there was some changes mentally towards the end of the season. He wasn't the same guy in the locker room that he was at the beginning of the season. He wasn't the same guy that they brought in. So obviously, there are irrational things going on in his thought process where he is making these decisions that are not the best for him. They're not the best for his family. They're not the best for his, whoever the victim, because we don't know her name yet. But none of this stuff, none of these decisions are good for anyone. And I just don't think that he is of sound mind. So hopefully, this person is, maybe he has CTE, early onset. Something is going on inside of his mind, and we just hope that he gets the help that he needs. Again, we're not diminishing the victim. We're not diminishing the victim at all. But if you take a guy that's like, oh, no one believed that he would do this. Like all the people that have been around him in the locker room, the reporters and things of this nature, they all say that if anyone was to be involved in something like this, the last person that you would think it would be Cam. So he's the last person you would think that this type of thing would happen to, or he'd be involved in this type of thing. But now he is the one. So again, there's something different. There's something going on in his mind, and he needs help. We hope that he doesn't go on to harm himself, because again, he's not looking at this with a rational, sound mind. Continuing to evade the police, continuing to ignore the police, when it's something that he could take care of. He could, pay fines, he could do community service, he could do jail time, whatever the case may be. I don't know how it would work out with the specifics of his case, but now he's just making everything worse. So the decisions are they're just not what you would think a sound person would be doing. So again, hopefully he eventually gets the help that he needs. He needs to get into a program, counseling of some sort. I'm not saying domestic violence counseling. He needs some sort of counseling, because again, these things just don't add up and they don't make any sense, the decisions that he's making. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on from that. In other news, obviously the Detroit Lions have taken a couple of corners out to dinner. One of them, I think his name was Morris Norris Jr. He played at Fresno State, walked on there. He's 6'1". Then you've got from Auburn, you've got Nehemiah Pritchett, also similar build. Apparently he's a really good man corner. So this is what we would need. So obviously this is going to be addressed, and I'm going to keep beating the drum. I'm going to keep beating the drum for Stephon Gilmore. I'm going to keep beating the drum I know Amik Robertson was like, we don't need another corner because we have me, and I have a ton of expectations for Amik Robertson. I hope that he plays lights out and fantastic for us, but I would also feel better if we had a Stephon Gilmore. Now, Xavier Howard has made the rounds. He's raised some eyebrows with some of the comments that he's made. The first thing was that he would take less money to play for a contender. He was like, how much money do you really need, right? So he'll take less money to play for a contender because he wants to win a ring. And last time I checked, the Detroit Lions were one of the last 4 teams standing in this past season. So that's one thing. And then someone said something to him about Detroit, and apparently he was like, yeah, it's kind of cold out there, but you know, it is what it is. So Xavier Howard, again, he's an injured guy. Maybe his best days are behind him. Maybe he has a resurgent season. I don't know. But he's not someone that I would mind the Detroit Lions kicking the tires on and signing if they believe that, you know, his medicals check out and all of these things. So those are just some issues that we could go into the draft with. Hopefully those things are solved. I don't care. I'm going to say this. I don't care what Brad Holmes does, because I think whatever Brad Holmes does is the right move, especially in the draft. What I want is for Stephon Gilmore to be on this team. What I want is for Stephon Gilmore to be on this team, and I'll tell you why. Everything that I've said about Stephon Gilmore, it still stands. He's a fantastic cornerback. He's the 5th and final cornerback to win the Defensive Player of the Year in the history of the NFL. The NFL has been around for more than 100 years. Okay? Now, not in its current iteration. Obviously, NFL, AFL, there was a merger, all these things in the 70s. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about professional football has been around for over 100 years, the NFL organization. And in the history, in over 100 years, only 5 people have done it. Obviously, Deion Sanders did it in 1994, and then after him, in 2019, came Stephon Gilmore. No one has done it since. No one has done it since. So all of that stuff is great. But again, the reason that I would like you to sign a Stephon Gilmore or even a Xavier Howard, if that's the way it shakes out, is because we have 2 corners right now. We have 2. We have Carlton Davis III. We have Amik Robertson. Just 2. The other guys that we have are depth alone, right? So having 3 dog veterans going into the season, and then you could draft a corner or 2, and then you could go ahead and sign yourself an undrafted free agent, a UDFA, like a Starling Thomas that unfortunately we lost to the Arizona Cardinals last season. But you could go ahead and address it. It doesn't have to be in the early rounds. If you're not in love with someone in the early rounds, it could be in the later rounds. It could be in the 3rd. It could be the 4th, the 5th, however the case may be. But you kind of are playing with house money because you have Stephon Gilmore, you have Carlton Davis, and you have Amik Robertson. This is why I really want a signing of a veteran, because now you're more flexible. And I know Brad Holmes doesn't draft based off of need. I know Brad Holmes is best player available, but everyone could use some flexibility. Everyone. It doesn't matter who you are. The best player available, again, is who you think is best for your team. So I've never sensed, and we look at the moves that Brad Holmes has made in the draft, I've never sensed that Brad Holmes reaches for anybody. Now, we may not agree with the Broderick Martin situation. Everyone probably agrees that you could have gotten him in the 5th or the 6th or whatever the case may be. But again, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes in the draft. Just like people that were upset about the Jahmyr Gibbs pick, the electrician at number 12. Remember that after that pick was made, it came out that he wasn't gonna last, the next few picks. If Detroit hadn't taken him, someone was going to take him. And then we see why. We see he is electric. That's why I call him the electrician. He is electric. He is very, very fast. He's extremely quick. Bro has like all the potential in the world. So for him going in the first round, for all the people that are positional value and it doesn't make any sense, Brad Holmes stuck to his guns and he picked him because he was the best player there. And many executives, many GMs around the league lauded him for that pick. They were mad at that pick because they were like, I wanted to make that pick myself. So if you didn't think that Jahmyr Gibbs, the electrician, was going to go in the first round, you are sorely mistaken. So now we look at Broderick Martin and he went in the third round. Again, we have no idea what would have happened with him. Now we have people there to develop him. And if he does turn into I don't want to say Albert Hainsworth, but if he does turn into some name major contributor here, if he does turn into that player, then everyone will be looking at Brad Holmes like, man, that dude is a freaking genius, right? So again, I've never seen him reach for anybody. He always gets the guys that he wants, but I feel like with the flexibility that you get, having those 3 veterans going into the draft, then you're just more comfortable. There's nothing. And again, what I'm saying clearly, I don't think these things creep into Brad Holmes' mind. But just thinking like a normal, rational person, dang, need to get a corner. Gotta get one. We really need a corner. And then you look at a corner here and you go, I might need to take that dude. You know what I mean? Like, he's on your board. He's one of the best players, but he's not the best player available, So you might look at a receiver and you're like, dang, like if we can, I really want to take this guy who fell, or I really want to take that guy who fell, or I really want to take this guy who, man, we didn't think he was going to be there. I mean, this happens. Why do you think Brad Holmes is like banging on the table? And because certain players fall to him. I mean, when that Panay Sewell situation happened, I mean, banging on the table. I mean, he's gripping up, Dan Campbell. So when these players fall to you, it's like you got to take them. But you don't want, and I don't think Brad Holmes will ever second guess himself, because I think he does all the work. His scouts do the work. That department is a cohesive unit. Him and Dan Campbell are a cohesive unit. So I don't think that there is any second guessing happening. But for me personally, for my sanity, I would just love to have a veteran come in here. And now the situation has changed a little bit. I know I said before that the Cam Sutton situation may not have affected anything, but what it does affect is it takes this veteran off of the board. It takes the veteran off of the roster. Essentially, we don't have that third veteran. We thought we were going to have Carlton Davis, Amik Robertson, and Cam Sutton. And then that would have been cool because Cam Sutton would have been able to be moved around. Maybe he goes to the number 2 position. Now it's like, okay, well, what we have right now is Carlton Davis and Amik Robertson. Those are our 1 and 2. And Amik Robertson didn't get a whole lot of shine. He didn't get a whole lot of opportunity in the beginning of his career in Las Vegas. But you saw last year he kind of came on the scene when he got the opportunity. So we just think that his potential, he's going to keep going up and up. We don't think that he has tapped out. We don't think he's reached the ceiling. But again, now we have to, in this situation, we have to rely on him as the number 2 corner. I do not believe that he can't do it. I don't have any doubt that Amik Robertson can do it. But again, I just want to have that flexibility. I want to have that comfort. I want to be able to sleep at night like, okay, cool. We got Stephon Gilmore, hopefully. So anybody that has any sources out there that are scouring the internet, that are checking phone records, let us know if Stephon Gilmore puts in his Waze app the airport, and then he lands at the Detroit airport, or if he gets a phone call from a 313 number, let us know, because that's who we want in Detroit, and that's who we want going into the draft, so that we can feel a lot better. And I will end off with this. Detroit Lions new uniforms are coming somewhere probably before the draft. I've seen reports April 18th. Rod Wood said that we are going to honor our traditional colors, and we're going to have a slight update and twist to it. We're going to have different pants options to wear with the different jerseys, things of this nature. So, I mean, if we're going tradition, think about what colors Barry Sanders used to wear. There's been a bit of a change, right? The blue was darker back then. We might go back to that. And man, I think with the modern design principles, man, those uniforms would be tough. They would be tough. I mean, back to the Billy Sims era, or even back to when the Lions were in the 50s winning, championships, So, hey, I'm excited. I'm pretty sure that everyone is excited. I don't think that, it's kind of hard to make bad uniforms in the NFL. It's kind of hard. You know what I mean? The Cleveland Browns, they did it. They made bad uniforms. Those numbers are bad. The Buccaneers, they did it too. Back when Nike was first doing the uniforms for the NFL, the Buccaneers with the alarm clock numbers, and those were bad uniforms. They were terrible. But with the Detroit Lions talking about honoring the tradition, I really don't think you could go wrong. The Detroit Lions have never had a bad uniform. They've had bad teams. They've had bad seasons, but they've never had a bad uniform. If we're talking about how uniforms looked in every era, Detroit Lions have never had a bad one. So I'm going to trust that the marketing department and the uniform department, they put their heads together, the design department, and they have come up with something fantastic that we will love to see. And hopefully we will be representing the NFC in the Super Bowl in these new uniforms. That is all the time that I have for today. As always, subscribe, smash the like button like it did something to you, share, be the type of friend that tells another friend, let everybody know the type of experiences that you are having in this here kitchen. And we're gonna go ahead and get up out of here, man. So until next time, as always, peace.